All right, looks like we're live again. Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the How Can I Support My Child series. We notice we have a challenge every time we go live now. It takes off some of our platforms and we have to stop and start all over again. And that's what happened. And this is why we are starting 5 minutes late. We had gone live at the exact time, but we noticed we were not on Facebook. And so we had to go out of the studio and back to the studio. Same thing happened yesterday. Sorry about this. Welcome to the How Can I Support My Child series. And today we're jumping right into the question for today. We had a parent ask us, right? You said children should be allowed to, gain independence. Children should be allowed to learn independently. You go to schools and schools talk about child-led learning and all of that. So at one point, do you as a parent now know when to come in to support your child? At what point should you support your child? And how can you support your child? So this is a question that we're going to be answering today. Welcome to the show. We have the show every Monday, every week from Monday through Friday, and it's usually a 20 to 30 minute show. All right, that's what it's supposed to be. We will try and keep it at that today. All right, my name is Maribel Chima, and I am the founder of the Parenting Through Mentorship Academy and PTM Resources. And yes, I am the proud matron of the Mastermind Circle. The Mastermind Circle is a peer mentorship and accountability group that we run for young children and preteens. Yes, we love them, young children and preteens. We love them, school age children and preteens. Oh, we love all children. All right, but these are the ones that I work with, and these are the ones that I try to, support parents and support, this group of children to build a solid foundation and prepare them effectively for their teen age. Yes, we understand that if we can lock in a lot of skills and the right kind of habits, we lock in skills, we lock in habits, and we help the children become self aware. When these three things are put in place, then these children are ready to be resourceful and productive teenagers. And that's what every parent wants, because you do not want a teenager who is not productive. You do not want a teenager that is not self aware. You do not want a teenager who hasn't got skills. They will drive you, they will frustrate you, and they will practically, weary you. They will wear you out basically. So yes, because we understand how it's important, right? We understand the importance of the parents teenager relationship, because that relationship is very critical, right, to foster the next phase of the child's life. When the child becomes a young adult and the child begins to make major decisions in their lives. So we want to ensure that you have a solid relationship, you have a robust relationship with your teenager, because when you still have that relationship going for you when they are teenagers, then it means that you can move from mommy to that matriarch, you can move from mommy to that consultant, you can move from daddy to that patriarch and that um person that they can confide in, that they can, bounce ideas and bounce, run things by, basically, when they want to make major decisions in their relationships, in their careers, in their businesses, and all of that. But when we don't foster that relationship and we do not connect with our children during the teenage years, what you realize is you disconnect and you go apart. And so when they get into this critical phase, young adult phase, when they begin to make major, very major decisions, you realize that you are not the go-to person, because they can't connect with you, because they don't trust you, because they cannot see you as that person that will not judge them. So we have all of these things at the back of our minds. This is why we run the mastermind circle, right? So that we can prepare these children for that teenage phase of their lives. And that's why we answer these questions, because most of these questions that we answer come from our parents who are parents of young children and preteens. All right. So, how do we know? How do you know that your child needs you? Okay. How do you know that it is time to show up for your child? All right. Granted, we want children to be independent, we want children to develop that muscle, right, where they can learn independently, where they can make informed decisions, small decisions, and then they begin to, as they do this, they learn how to make, decisions. As they do this, they become confident in their ability to make good choices, and you also as your parent become confident in their ability to make choices, because you have raised, you have trained, and you have given them the opportunity to do this over and over again, and you have seen them make good choices. Now, what I mean, why this is happening during this process, right? How do you ensure that you are not practically micromanaging the child? Or how do you now come in after giving them this independence and autonomy to make certain small decisions for themselves, okay, or to lead and direct their learning? At what point do you now know that your child needs you, even if the child is not asking? Okay, because the whole idea is, when you teach your children autonomy, when you allow your children become independent, okay, there should be that place in that whole system where you also teach the child that there will be times where you will need help. There will be times where you will need to turn to the next person and ask for help. All right, that is supposed to be a part of the training, so that the children know that when you are struggling or when you don't have it together, it is necessary or it's important that you also learn how to ask other people. Now, some of us teach independence, or we see our children become independent, right, on their own during the course of their journey, and we forget to teach the part where they have to ask for help when they need help. All right. So if this is your child not asking for help, doesn't even know when they need help, or doesn't even know how to go about seeking help when they need it, what do you do? Or what are the tail signs that you will see and you will know that your child is in need of help even when they are not asking? 1 second, please. All right, so how do you now? All right, so I'm back. Let's continue with that. All right, so the first thing that you should pay attention to, or the first tail sign that you see that should make you become concerned about whether your child needs help or not, is when you find out that your child is disinterested, in learning. When your child is disinterested about learning, the child is not, motivated to learn, the child is indifferent, about learning. The moment you notice that this is going on with your child, then it's time for you to come in and see how you can help the child. The moment you notice that your young child, your 8-year-old, your 10-year-old, is not interested in learning, whether that learning is in school or that learning is in a support group, whether it's personal development or it's in their academics or it's even in their in spiritual activities, right? Sunday school, Islamia, and all of that. The moment you notice that your child doesn't show any interest in it, when you announce that they need to do something, or when you announce that it's time for that thing, you see them dragging, you see them making excuses, and all of that. Okay, that's an indication that your child might need help. All right, that's an indication that your child might need help. All right, as you pay attention to this, you don't want to jump into conclusion immediately. You want to give it some time, and you want to monitor or just watch the child for about 2-3 weeks. Okay, watch the child for about 2 or 3 weeks, and in those 2-3 weeks, make sure that the situations are different. For instance, the first week it could be that you have they have a friend around, right? They have a friend visiting or something like that. Now, if they have a friend visiting, chances are that they may not want to miss out on, what it is that they are doing with their friends, or the fact that they have friends over. So that could be the reason why they are not, interested in doing that thing. Okay, it could be that they have, right, as I said, it could be that they have, sorry. All right, then. So it could be that, all right? So when you notice that, or it could be that your child is in a space where you have lots of children, the children are playing, everybody's playing, everybody's having so much fun, and then you want to take them out of that, fun, and ask them to do something, all right? To join a class, join, a personal development, session, and all of that. Or it's they are having cousins or people over, and these people are going to be at home, and the child alone has got to go to school. All right, so if this is the case, you know that there is a factor that is responsible for that. It's not simply that the child is not interested, or that the child is not motivated. All right, so what you want to do is you want to remove that from the dynamics, right? So you want to remove this from the dynamics. So for instance, you can say during school period, all right? You can say during school days, right? If people want to visit, then that may not be a good time to have their friends or to have their cousins over. All right, so you may want to keep that exclusively for the weekends. All right, keep that exclusively for the weekends. And then if there are times that they have to do some personal development, like, program, right, like the mastermind or any other programs like that, now you want to ensure that the days where they have this program is not the day where they have a play date, it's not the day where they have friends over, right? Because of course, there's a tendency that the child would not want to miss out, on what is going on, especially during the early phase where the child is just learning this thing, and when the child is young. As they grow older, or as they become more, involved in the system, you should help them develop, what we call FOMO. All right, you should help them develop, build stamina against FOMO, basically, so that your child is not always afraid of missing out. Teach them not to be afraid of missing out, right? FOMO is the fear of missing out. So teach your children not to be afraid to miss out. All right, there's a way to go about teaching them not to be afraid to miss out. All right, there's so many ways, right? We're not going to be talking about that today, but there's so many ways to teach your children how not to miss out. All right, by helping them understand the why behind what they are doing. That's one way. All right, help them understand the why behind what they are doing per time, so that when they have to miss out on what other people are doing, they don't feel bad, because their why makes them know that what you are doing is more beneficial, so you don't have to bother. Let your children know that you can't be everywhere at the same time, you can do everything at the same time. So it's okay to miss out on some and then be present in the ones that are your priority. When the children know this, then you are eliminating that fear of missing out. All right, teach your children, FOMO. I mean, teaching them, to deal with, the fear of missing out is such an important part, I mean, a lesson that you have to teach your children, especially if you want your children to manage or know how to manage peer pressure. You must teach them how to deal with the fear of missing out. All right, so you want to eliminate those factors from your dynamics, especially on days where your children, or the period where your children really need to do the things that they have to do. Remember, these are just young children and preteens. These are your 6, 8, 10, and 12-year-olds. So yes, they are not in that place where they are so matured that they know, oh, this is so right for me, that it is enough for me not to miss out on the fact that I have 10 of my friends, 5 of my friends, or my cousins that I've not seen for a long time around, and then playing and having fun. And then I just walk away to go and attend the class, or I just walk away and go to school knowing that other people are going to be having fun at home. So you want to make sure that you eliminate all of that. All right. Now, if this is not the case, it's not because of these extra things that your child is gradually losing motivation or is disinterested in school, then you need to come in, because it now simply means that your child needs you. Your child needs to be supported. Now, that support starts with you trying to understand why they are not interested in this thing. Why are you not interested in school? You want to start digging in, you want to start paying attention, you want to start looking at the things, all right, the child's routines and the patterns and all of that, so that you can trace why it could be that they do not like being in school. We treated a topic like this, right? We treated a topic like this I think a week or two ago, when we talked about what can be the reasons why our children do not like it in school. What could be the reason why your child does not enjoy learning? All right, so you may go back. I mean, you can go back and look for that video. All right, look for that session, so that you can catch a replay of it, so you learn, right? So you learn how to dig for what the reason could be. There are many factors that could be responsible for why your child does not want to go to school. We dealt with it in that video. This is a short class, we can't start dealing with it again. All right, so the first thing to do is to find the root cause. What exactly is making my child not enjoy being in school? What exactly is it that is making my child disinterested in this thing that the child is meant to do? All right, if you check closely, few things that could come up. It could be that the child is not happy in that environment, because of course the child is not connecting, with people in that environment. Two, it could just be that your child has not done anything like this. Your child does not understand the why, and your child would rather be drawn towards things that are exciting, play, basically, not necessarily. So in many cases, it's even watching TV or video games or things like that. So when your child is overly stimulated by, externally stimulated, when your child is overly stimulated by gadgets and technology and all of that. So children who are addicted to screens, children who are addicted, right, to tech, usage of tech and all of that, usually have very little interest in anything that will develop them. Remember, the child is flooded with dopamine. So that feel good hormone, the child only gets it from certain activities. And so it becomes a craving. The child is always craving for those activities that pump dopamine into their system. And because you have allowed that become a part of them for the longest time, perhaps, then the child is not getting a sense of satisfaction from anything else, anything that is slow, anything that is, that it requires critical thinking, anything that requires problem solving. You have already made the child very passive, because the child is now probably a passive learner, or the child is passively entertained all the time. So all the child wants to do is just sit down there, do nothing, use no brain cells, just watch and laugh at what every other person, is doing on TV, on their tablets, on their phone. So you see this kind of children moving from phone to tablet, from tablet to, so it's always something passively engaging them, something passively entertaining them. All right, the children have not developed themselves, in hands-on activities, and all of that, because gadgets have replaced the need to play and be hands-on. So that could be so that could be one of the reasons, basically, that your child is not, tuned, or is not, gravitating towards the things that would develop them, right? They would rather do the things that are just fun and exciting. All right. So the next one is, it could be that your child is struggling with instructions. Your child struggles with taking instructions. All right. And there are a lot of our children who struggle with taking instructions. If you want to know that your child struggles with taking instructions, think about it. Go back and think about it. Those times that you say, take this plate and drop it here, or do this and do that. If you notice that after giving your children, I mean, 10, out of 10 times that you give them instructions, they only carry out the instructions about once or twice, or in some cases you will not believe it, but it's so bad that some children hardly carry out instructions without you reminding them or getting angry. All right. Now, if this is the case, it means that that child is highly distracted, and the child is actually struggling with carrying out instructions. Now, if you check, a lot of times these children are children who do not know how to begin a task and see that task through to the end. So you will actually see the child probably in the kitchen doing the dishes, and there are 5 or 10 dishes, and you see the child the child will actually do one or two, and the next minute you see the child sitting down in the living room watching TV. You actually have the child is supposed to sweep, a space, and you realize that the child will take 40 minutes to do a task that is supposed to take about 5 minutes, because at every instant the child is distracted. The child touches, whatever they're using, the vacuum cleaner, and then the next minute they are transfixed watching something, or just something. They find something to engage them or find something to distract them. So what you know in this case is that this child is struggling with taking instructions. Okay, that moment you know that the child needs help. The child needs help, and there are ways to help the child, build this, that ability, the ability to listen and to take instructions. All right. Should I be giving that? Let's talk about that. I already talked about FOMO and what you can do. All right. So let's talk about what you can do in this case. Now, if you find that your child is struggling with taking instructions, now it simply means that that child is highly distracted, isn't it? So what you want to do is you want to ensure that you remove or eliminate the things that could be distracting, right, for the child when the child has to do certain activities. That's one. Number two, you want to prompt the child, right? So before the child starts the activity, you want to ensure that you help the child, simulate, right? Help the child simulate, or help the child, give them prompts that will help them remember the process. All right. So before the child starts, you can ask them, what did I say you should do? All right. And then the child repeats to you what you have just told them to do. You need to make sure that the child has heard you, and you need to make sure that the child can repeat it, so that you are sure that the child has comprehended the instruction that the child has been given. Now, for this kind of children, you want to make sure, in fact, for all children, you want to make sure that the instructions are not too many. Give one instruction per time. All right, so give one instruction per time and ensure that the instruction is very direct and not ambiguous. All right, tell the child exactly what you want them to do, exactly what you expect of them. All right, so when you give specific, right, and very, simple instructions like that, then the child will be able to hold that information. All right, even if it's something that requires, three parts or 2 parts. All right, give them the instructions one after the other. Remember, we're still talking about your young children and your preteens. We're still talking about 6, 7, 8, 10, and 12-year-olds thereabouts, right? So yes, they're not that old for you to say, get sense. Can you not think? Don't do that, dear parents. Okay, these children are in a developmental phase, right? They are in that phase, and during this phase, it's not by shaming and yelling that you get it. This is the phase where it has to be a lot of introducing the right habits, introducing the right activities, the way to do things, and then being consistent and encouraging why the child is turning these or practicing these into becoming a habit, or becoming a habit. So what you want to do is you want to introduce the right skills, you want to introduce the right activities, you want to introduce the right tools and strategies to the child, and then you want to help the child practice this consistently while you are prompting and encouraging them throughout the process. Now, when you do this, the child will begin to make a habit of this thing, and the child will gain mastery. And as this happens, then the child gets to the point where the child can do these things on their own. All right. So yes, this is how you help a child that is struggling with retention, or struggling with carrying instructions, basically. So give them one instruction per time, and then allow them assimilate the instruction. Now you Ask them to tell you the process that they will go through to achieve it. All right. So I need you to go and sweep your room, or I need you to go and tidy this place. What do you need? Or what would you do now? All right. What did I say I wanted? The child repeats it to you. And how are you going to go about that? I'm going to go to the to the kitchen or wherever, and I'm going to get the vacuum. I'm going to get the broom, and then I'll come and sweep and pack it and then throw the dirt where the child tells you, and that's it. Get to it. All right. So you want to make sure that the child gets to it at that time. And that's another thing. Teach the children to get to the instruction as soon as the instruction is given. Because a lot of times, if you're not paying attention, your child may be dealing with procrastination when they have to move what they have to do now for later. When that happens, chances are they will forget. All right. And these are some of the issues, right, why they are struggling with instructions. All right. The next one is when you find out that your child is frequently distracted. All right. The child cannot start a task and see that task through to the end. Every time your child sits down to do their homework, after 2 or 3 minutes, the child is standing up, the child is playing with a toy, the child has turned their books to a doodle book. Okay. Everywhere around their books, you see them drawing all kinds of doodles and all of that. Yes, these are common things that you see amongst children. But if you pay attention, you may have that child that is struggling so badly that they can't even stay on task. And I'm talking about your 6, 8, 10-year old. So at this point, the attention span should have increased to an extent, right? They say, think about it this way: a child's attention is about double or 3 times their age. So your 12-year-old should get your 6-year-old should at least have an attention span that is between 12 and 18 minutes. Okay, that's what the experts say, relatively, right? So the child should actually be able to focus on an activity for between 12 to 18 minutes. So when you see this group of children come in and after 2 minutes the child is restless, all things being equal, the child is not struggling, no developmental challenges or learning challenges, or anything like that. All right. So all things being equal, then you need to pay attention, right? The child works for about 2 minutes or 3 minutes and the child is off, and all of that. So this kind of children have got they need help. Basically, the child needs help. Now, how can you help this kind of children? All right, it's the same thing. First of all, the instructions. You give them specific instructions, all right, and then you stay on. So with this kind of children, you want to make sure that supervision is a thing. So don't just give them a task and walk away. Give them a task and supervise them to see the task through. All right, especially for children who are distracted. All right, this kind of children would also work. Mentorship will also work for this kind of children. Getting their older siblings to mentor them. All right, so it's time to do their homework. Okay, help the child, get the child to do their homework the same time that your older sibling is doing their homework. So that way they can sit together and this older sibling becomes like a mentor, all right, while the child is working. For this kind of children, you may also need to sit with them sometimes. All right, now when you're sitting with them, it's not so that you can do their work for them. You're sitting with them, being busy, also doing your thing, all right, and the child is doing. So you are modeling outrightly to the child, and the child is watching you. All right, so this is a part of how you can, help this kind of children. Another way is to help the child to time themselves. This one can be exciting. Get the child, a little timer, right? Get the child a little timer, and then when the child is about to start a task, tell the child this task is for 5 minutes, and then turn it to the 5 minutes, and then you tell the child you don't stop until your alarm goes off. This one can be exciting, for the child, and that becomes the reason why the child, yes, it's at the sound, right, will be anticipated, but at least you can get the child to focus for some time. All right, and of course you want to start, gradually. Don't just tell them to focus, especially if you've noticed they struggle. Then don't give them tasks that will make them have to focus for 30 minutes. You can start with 5 minutes and you begin to increase and increase until you get to the child to the point points where the child can focus. This kind of children, of course, with them, you also need routine and schedules. You need routine and schedules, and you need a system that will remind them of their routines and their schedules. All right. You can also use the timer system. You can use the prompt system, and of course, you can use the mentorship system where their older sibling becomes, like the becomes a mentor to the child and supports the child through this. All right, the next one is when you notice that your child has self-doubt and is always frustrated. When your child is always doubting themselves, some children doubt themselves so badly that they begin to talk negatively, all right, about themselves, or they talk negatively when they are frustrated. So when you find out that your child is always cursing under their breath and is always saying really nasty things when they are upset, that child definitely needs help, because it's obvious that the child is dealing with lack of emotional regulation. That is, the child is dealing with that, of course. The child is dealing with self-esteem issues when the child is constantly doubting themselves. You tell the child to do something, the child says, I can't, or I'm afraid to do it, or the child gives excuses every time. When your child is giving excuses every time, it means that your child is probably struggling with that thing. If it's their schoolwork, it means they're struggling with their schoolwork, or whatever it is. Sometimes when children find themselves amongst other people and they feel less than these people, or they feel like they are not as good as these other people, when your child is, doesn't know how to stay on their lane, the child hasn't been taught, that they are enough and their journey is unique. So when your child is constantly looking at other people, your child is constantly comparing themselves verbally or otherwise, with other people. And that could be because you have started the nurturing that. All right. So for parents who compare their children a lot, when you compare your child a lot, you put that seed in the child where the child is constantly second guessing themselves. After all, you don't even believe that they are good enough. So a lot of times they always feel every other person is better than them. All right. They feel every other person is better than them. And what happens when this is the case? The child withdraws, or the child begins to act indifferent about what other people know. All right, so these are the children, you see them go on stage in school and every other person is giving their best performance, and the child is there dragging themselves and acting like I'm not interested. The truth about it is not like the child is not really interested. The truth about it is the child doesn't feel enough. The child doesn't feel they are good enough for this. The child feels other people do this better. The child feels, that it's just low self-esteem issues many times that the child is dealing with. Sometimes the child has complex real stage, it could even be as bad. The child may have like stage fright, right? Stage fright that is so bad that rather than looking for help or finding strategies or having tools to deal with this, the child just begins to act like I am not interested. Okay, this is not my thing, or I'm not interested, or they just act, complacency sets in and they act like they are not interested in all of this. But the truth about it is the child does not have the skill, and rather than learn, the child has become deep. Right, so when you notice this about your child, it could be their schoolwork too. All right, they're indifferent, So these are the children that their results come and they don't do well. And rather than feel remorse, they begin to laugh, or they begin to act like, oh, don't care, and all of that. A lot of times it's low self-esteem, all right? It's second guessing, the child doesn't feel enough, the child is struggling. All right. Now, as a parent, you need to identify this and agree that it is what it is. All right. So go back and begin to think. Look at you first. Look at you first and see what contributions you are probably making or you have made to get the child to this place. So if you're someone who is constantly comparing, then it's time to stop. And comparison doesn't necessarily mean you calling people's name all the time. Comparison could be you giving one person more attention because that person is a more malleable child, or that person is the child that is bringing results, or that person is a child that is easier to deal with. And so you give that child all the attention. That child gets all the yeses. That child gets all the praises, and this other person hardly does. Okay, so whether you are not comparing them, outrightly or not, this child can see. The child is a human being. The child can see and the child can feel, right? All this. So this can actually be some of the issues that you're dealing with. But then again, you can see this, dear parents, and you can find out from the people who work with your children. Sometimes their teachers see these things. Oh, definitely their mentors see these things and can help you. You can work in partnership, right, with these people that have become your support system. You can work in partnership with them to support that child or to help the child. All right. So at the point you notice this is now why you need to help the child. And then at the point that you have been able to put your finger on it is when you need to help the child. And then yes, you can help this child with the help of your partners. You should have parenting partners, please. Parents, have people who partner with you. Collaborate. Parents, please. Your teacher automatically becomes a collaborator or a partner in your child's journey. Get you them mentors, please. Get mentors. Mentors have a way of connecting with your children at a deeper level. Mentors have a way of con- I mean bringing in more of their energy into supporting your child than a teacher could, because in many cases the teachers have so many things, from the bureaucracy of their jobs to the number of children that they have to deal with, plus all the many things, the fact that they have to deliver on their curriculum, the pacing, the scheme, all of that. So a lot of times, parent and teachers have all of this burden, and they're not able to step into that mentorship role that they should have also, right, effectively. So when you have mentors who work with your children directly, they bring in more of that energy, not because they are necessarily better, but because it is their thing, and because this is their main, or this is their main focus, basically, and their role is not all over the place. So yes, they're able to see, know, and support your child on a deeper level. All right. And so you want to harness this, and you want to key into that support system. Thank you for joining me today. And so yes, if your child is not in the mastermind circle, our mentorship and leadership and accountability group, this is a reason for you to get them in the mentorship program, where I and my team will be working with your children, and your children are going to have the support of their peers in the mastermind circle. So yes, if this is you, or this could be any of us, and this can happen at any point in our children's journey. So yes, if you are raising young children and preteens, please get them into the system of mentorship. Get mentorship to be a part of your parenting tool or strategy. Get that system as part to be a part of your parenting system, basically, and you will be glad you did. So if you have children between 6 and 13, then the mastermind is the place for you. Get your children in this system. We just started a new cohort in September, and we are still enrolling, right, for the whole of September. So get your children on board, of course, until the slots are all full. When the slots are full, we will stop, whether it's the end or not. All right. So when the slots are full, we will stop registration. But for now, we are still in the place where we can still take in as many children, because it's taking some children. So you want to get your child on board, right? So that we can begin to work with you, support you, and support your child, on their journey. And we can come in when the children need help. Of course, apart from that, we offer them accountability every single day. And that on its own is support. That on its own is coming in, right, to support the children, right, and to avoid a lot of the negative things that could come up. We don't have to wait till there is war for us to, do what we have to do. If we do the right thing today, then we will mitigate, right? We would actually, help the children deal with a lot that they don't have to struggle with later, because they were not supported earlier. Thank you for joining us today. If you'd like to have your child join us in the mastermind circle, you have the information scrolling on your screen right now. All you need to do is screen grab this information and then reach out to us. All right, you can make payment to join the mastermind circle. That is less than 6,000 naira in a month. So what that simply means is that you pay just 70,000 naira in an entire year for us to support your child, to work with you, work with your child, basically, to help you raise that child, right? To help raise that child who is wholesome. That child who knows when they need help and they can ask for the help. The child who does not struggle with all of these things that will become such a problem because they have a support system that they can rely on 365 days in a year. Thank you very much for joining me. All right, use this information to join, and you can also check the comment section and the description on YouTube to get the information that you need to register your child to be a part of the circle. Have a fantastic evening, and I'm signing out right now. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you tomorrow again at 7 p.m. when we come to answer another question on the How Can I Support My Child series. Bye for now.